Cafe anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
FF episode 2119, 2119. It's Mike's Daily Podcast. How's it going? Here's my song for you. Up until a little while ago, I was looking at my website, mikesdailypodcast.com, and I was scared because, there was this thing that said, you reached a illegal website. You're dead. And I was like, uh-oh. So, but it's fixed now. Just goes... Mike's Daily Podcast. Just goes to show nothing's safe anymore on the internet. That's why you should listen to this podcast and risk Mike's your life daily. Because it's a crazy podcast. Wild West type world. Yeah! And I'm really excited because I got another phone message today. Yes, 1-800-336-MM-DAILY. That's 3 + 3 = 6. MM as in Mike Matthews. Wait, did I put an 800 in there? I've completely confused you. That's 336-MM-DAILY. 3 + 3 = 6. MM as in Mike Matthews. Daily as in what this podcast tries to be. Me affording a 1-800 number? Right. I finished finally my psych binge. I watched all the James Rodriguez, Dooley Hill, that whole group, Timothy Amundsen. So I'm done. I think I'm pretty much done talking about psych. Finally, am I done talking about Benita? Heck no. I'm going to talk about Benita the whole show today because apparently I have upset people by the fact that I love talking about Benita so much. Because it's so pretty up there. The pharmaceutical company AstraZeneca. Boy, that company's owned by aliens. Who else would come up with that kind of a name for a company but aliens? Anyway, they said they had voluntarily paused a randomized clinical trial of its coronavirus vaccine in what it called a routine action after a volunteer developed an unexplained illness.
And here's today's podcast picture.
They developed an unexplained illness. A third eye. Bum, bum, bum. Third eye blind. That's how it's going to be. Some kind of charmed, kind of life. Every single woman on the planet liked that song at one point. That's what I found. Is Basil a big fan of this song? I don't think so. I think he might growl if we bring it up. But the podcast picture today is not of Basil this time, no. Although you can see a great picture. The last podcast picture was of Basil. But, see, he's so upset. But the late, great Basil is implied in the podcast picture today because this place he and I used to go to all the time over at Heron Bay. And there's a nice, beautiful day trying to cool off because, it's been so hot around. And so this podcast picture was taken. I was by myself, but I was thinking of him. And it's a cool picture. You can see it at mikesdailypodcast.com. The water from the bay. Oh, and it was a smoky day. So usually you can see across the bay and see all the stuff on the other side. But it was too smoky that day because of the fires. Lots of fires. And there was so much smoke in the air today. It actually cooled us down, I think. Because I looked at the weather and it didn't say anything. It said there was like a 5% chance of rain. I guess there was a lot of moisture in the air, but still it was weird because we were supposed to have another hot one. The hottest day was Sunday. That was crazy hot. As part of the ongoing randomized controlled global trials of the Oxford coronavirus vaccine, our standard review process was triggered and we voluntarily paused vaccination to allow review of safety data. You can dance if you want to, by an independent committee. The company, AstraZeneca, owned by aliens, which is developing the drug alongside the University of Oxford, is a frontrunner in the global race for the COVID-19 vaccine. If you didn't know, if you were placing bets and you didn't know, and if you didn't know, this is a sign of the apocalypse. The Kardashians are ending it. Yeah, we've heard that before. But next year, apparently, Fans will have to find another way to keep up with the Kardashians. They announced it's going to end next year. You probably heard this. That's the way news works these days. Something stupid like that story you heard, but something very important, like the outcry over Mulan. Okay, you probably heard about that too. Disney's Mulan faces controversy over filming in the China Xinjiang area. And Disney's Mulan sparks backlash over ties to that and Hong Kong. I had a former roommate who came from Hong Kong. We didn't talk too much about Hong Kong. Okay, but back to the podcast picture and back to the fact that I don't know what, all of a sudden my website was down for a while, but now it's back. So you can check out all the podcast pictures now. They're safe. Mike'sDailyPodcast.com. And you can call me at 336-MM Daily. 3 + 3 = 6. MM as in Mike Matthews. Daily isn't what this podcast tries to be. Okay, what I am going to attempt to do is to play you this phone call. Let's see if Mike is able to do this. Okay. Let's see, we got that. Let's see if I can play this. I'm doing this on a very limited bit of technology here, so bear with me.
Hey, Mike, this is Tony Tarnation. I just want to say I love your podcast. I'm calling from out in Fort Worth, Texas, where I ride the John Deere tractor all around all day. I got to make sure I get to the pasture so this mission won't be too long. I just want to say that man who called last week, his name was Tony Pastrami or something like that from New York. He was a funny dude. I really like him. You should bring him on your show more often. He is very funny, and I think that he would be a great addition to the show. Also, I gotta say, Basil the dog is my favorite dog of all time. He's a knee-slapping dog. I love hearing him. I think every day he's listening to you from heaven, and he loves your show. He probably just loves listening to it up in doggy heaven. Well, I gotta get out to the pasture on the tractor and get me some John Deere and wear my cowboy hat. And woo-hoo, I got a busy day ahead of me. I just want to say I love Mike's Daily Podcast, and I hope you keep up the good work. Yeah!
Wow. Thank you. I didn't get a chance. I didn't get a chance to do this. This was what I should have played at the beginning.
Oh my God!
Email for email and your calm and not so calm minutes.
But I done forgot. And we're outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley. Podcastro Valley, where it's very smoky, the last place on earth. Thank you, Tony Tarnation. Wow, we've heard from Tony Baloney and now Tony Tarnation. How many Tonys listen to this show? Tony. It feels good. Yeah. And I would sing you the lyrics to No Loot, but I can't think of it at the moment. But Tony. I think the members of that band are from Oakland or somewhere in the Bay Area. Isn't that great? What a nice thing Tony said about Basil the Boxer. Yes, hopefully he is listening to this show in Doggy Heaven. However, he did not. When I used to record the podcast, and he'd be hanging out with me here at Cafe Anyway, and I would have the voices, the characters, the real people that you hear outside of Cafe Anyway. I would sometimes look over at him and he'd be staring at me like, what the heck are you doing? What is that, Mike? You're crazy. Why are you so crazy? Hey, look who's outside. Speaking of characters, the Cafe Anyway characters, somewhere in Cafe Anyway, the last place on earth. Look who's here. Hi, Mike. It's Benita the rodeo queen. How you doing?
It's a disgruntled fiddle player, tell you what.
What?
That guy sounded like a fake.
Wow, disgruntled fiddle player. How uncool. How dare you call someone out on Mike's Daily Podcast?
No, I just got a feeling about it. I could smell when someone's faking an accent and everything because they don't commit to it.
No, I think that was Tony's Tony Tarnation and Tony Baloney. Those were their real accents.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, look who else is here.
Hello, Mike. I make the delicious root beer. Have some right now. Okay.
Guys, I have to get up at 4 a.m. and be at work by 5, so let's wrap this up. Next show, it'll be the wonderful, and we'll see if I can do a podcast at 5 in the morning. I don't think I will, but if I can, you will hear it here, wherever you're listening to this podcast. But next show, it'll be the wonderful Madame Rootabega, Valentino, and Bison Bentley. Thanks for listening.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!